version of How Does It Work, I'm going to be talking about Google Forms and how you can use Google Forms to help differentiate in your classroom. Um, in the past, we have used Google Forms for surveys, for quizzes, for kids, and this is a great streamline into your Google Classroom. So just very quickly, I want to show you a couple setting options that you do have. You can just do again, general is fine. You can collect addresses, restrict it to your domain, limit responses, editing features, those kinds of things that are pretty standard. You have the presentation mode where you can make it look a little more professional. So you can show anyone who's taking your using your form, you can have them show that progress bar. You can shuffle the questions. So if maybe it's a quiz and you don't want your students who sit right next to each other accessing the same questions at the same time, you can shuffle question order. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the quizzes options. If you make this a quiz, you can use the lock mode on Chromebooks. I'm going to encourage this as a feature, especially if you are in the distance learning style of teaching, because you can lock your students so that they can't go searching on the web for answers. They are going to be locked into their Google Form page. This is a good feature to use in the classroom as well if you're worried about kids who might potentially go looking for the answers elsewhere. If it's just a quiz that you need to maybe just gather information with, you may not need this as an option, but I'm going to go ahead and turn the lock on. You can give them their grades immediately. They can see missed questions, correct answers, and point values. So those are just some different features that you can have when you are creating your form. So now that we've kind of handled that piece, you'll see here that I can remove the locked motion if I want. You're going to have your title of your form, give it a description, and then this is where it's kind of a good piece for you to start differentiating. So for example, let's say my first question is, how many students are in our classroom? Let's say the correct answer is 5. So you'll notice here that I have my answer key I created, and I selected 5 as my correct answer. So if that was a mistake, I can always change it, or we can make it more than one option. I am going to click done as I've completed my answer key. And then this is where you are able to differentiate. So let's say I had a student who answered 1 and that statement was incorrect. Then I can have them continue to next section, which means they would just go down to the very next question, or I can have them go to a different section. So for example, if a student was struggling in math and they answered this problem incorrectly, I might want them to go to section 2, okay? And in section 2, I can create a question that's a little bit easier. So for example, I'm going to include again my title. I'm going to give it and then I'm going to add a question, and I might say, how many students are in your pod? A little bit of an easier question. I can make that again multiple choice. I'm going to provide option 1. I'm going to add all options again. This time the correct answer is going to be answer key. I'm going to say 2 is the correct answer. I can give answer feedback if I would like to. I'm going to say I'm done. And then again, should I want them to go on to another section, I will have that opportunity again. So I'm going to add another section, and then I can come into this question and I can make this required, and I can go to section based on answer. That is where you're going to have that option to send them somewhere else. Now let's say they got that one correct and I don't need any more information from them. I'm going to allow them to submit the form. However, I might want them to keep working. I might have them go to section 3. So as you can see, you can definitely modify your quiz and have your students move on based on ability. So I could go back to that question number 1, up here, how many students are in our classroom, and should our students answer that question, I might have them go to section 3 because that's going to be a more advanced question. So again, some options for you as you think about how to use Google Forms to differentiate in your classroom.